Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 490. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
What's up, people? How's it going?
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero.
Yo, yo, yo.
Richard Bailey Jr.
What's up, everybody?
Brian Manjoma.
Elden Ring, Elden Ring, Elden Ring.
And you have been asking for him, and he's back, Mr. Brett Murdoch.
What up, people?
All right.
My back is back.
Your back is back. How you been, man? I don't know if you want to tell anybody what's been going on with you while you haven't been on the show.
Oh, yeah, I got backy out of me. I fucked my back up from 20 years of tattooing. Straight up, that's also bad genetics. So they did this thing called a discogram. Keep telling everybody it's not as funky as it sounds. Yeah. It is, and I only know this because the last time I was in, they're like, "What do you need?" They're like, "Give me the 5-inch regular." So I now know that it was a 5-inch needle that they use, and they inject like some quick acting like painkiller and dye directly into your spine disc and like take some x-rays and shit of it. And like they don't really numb you because they told me ahead of time, they're like, we want to know like if this pain mimics your pain. So like, let us know if this feels like your normal pain flaring up. And like, oh God, it did. Like, oh, it was sciatica nerve pain cranked up to 11. Fucking awful. And then like, for like 3-4 hours, like after the first one, everything got worse. And then days later, it was worse that I could barely walk. So like, it probably wasn't that one. The second one, I walked in, like I kind of barely hobbled in and I walked out. And then 4 hours later, I was hobbling again. It's bullshit, but I think we found the one. And I am never doing that shit again. So it set the whole back off. Like it feels like I threw my back out again. I was on the couch lock. I was on a shit ton of pain meds, and I had no idea up from down. I was just neck deep in Elden Ring, making a new character. So getting ready for the DLC. So I wasn't 100% me, and I wasn't caught up on anything. So I didn't want to come in here just half baked and yell about shit. But here I am, half-baked, ready to yell about shit, so let's do this.
Yeah, but it is shit you know about Elden Ring, man. And perfect timing, and obviously we are very, very happy to have you back, us and the fans. So let's get into it. Fair warning to the fans tonight. Brett's going to go on a rant, and I probably will too, because I got some shit to say, man. Let's get into it. Brian already set it off. Yes, we will be fielding some Elden Ring questions for a good chunk of the show. So let's get into it, man. Alpha Chuck starts us off. What does everyone think of Shadow of the Erdtree so far? It currently sits as the highest rated DLC expansion of all time, unseating Witcher 3 Blood and Wine. Does it deserve this distinction? And also, do you hold Elden Ring in even higher regard with the new content? He goes, I think Elden Ring moved from a top 10 all time to my top 3. Damn. So yeah, just go down. Go ahead, Brad. You can start us off. What do you think of Shadow of the Erdtree so far?
Okay, so like it feels like it's physics break. First of all, like I've not gotten far enough to give you my 100% opinion, but like
Brad, to be fair, none of us have, so you're good. Yeah. You're okay.
Okay, so like the magic of where the fuck am I? What is going? Like I found a part of a cliff. I was supposed to be going down the road. I found a part of a cliff. I'm like, where does this go? And so I dropped down, and it just kept going down and forward for like 45 minutes. I'm just going down this path. Like I have no idea where the fuck I am. And then I crashed into this valley filled with glowing blue flowers, and absolutely get my ass handed to me. And I was like, okay, so this is like the Dark Souls. That was the wrong path scenario. Gotcha. I'm gonna go beef up, and then I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna go drink my milk, and I will show you. But man, just the honestly the wonder of being lost, of finding shit, of being a starving man in the desert, being like, I just need a fucking grace. Where are the goddamn graces? This is like Dark Souls 3 up in this bitch. It's like 9 miles between graces all of a sudden. Like they cranked it up, but they cranked up all the things that I wanted to see, right? Like, after 2 years, we had all figured out this game, and then they came in with this shit. And the alternative leveling system, at first I thought it was bullshit, but now I'm starting to think it was kind of brilliant, right? Because there is no way to overtune your character and just straight bull rush this shit. They are sitting you down and being like, no, Dark Souls, bitch. And I'm here for every fucking second of it. And the one thing I have to say that really, really shocks me, even talking about now, like, bro, Elden Ring was one of the most anticipated games, as far as I can tell, like all time. There was nothing like the hype train leading up to Elden Ring. That shit went supersonic, right? And still, when it came out, everybody said it's better. No matter what your expectations were, no matter how hyped you are, it was somehow better. And I, even a longtime Souls fan, I've been talking about that shit for years on here. I was like, bullshit. I don't believe it. And then I played it. I was like, it was somehow better. And the DLC, like, stands up to that. Like, for some reason, like, I knew like, Elden Ring is one of the top games of all time, in my opinion. Like, it's a fucking masterpiece. And, like, it was so well received, and that hype train thing happened, and I was like, okay, so if this was one of the biggest hype train things and it still succeeded, then the DLC, we all know it's going to surpass expectations. So, like, the hype train for that went even more supersonic, and still it somehow fucking surpassed. Like, I don't know how it keeps doing this, but they're like, guess how good we can get. All right, it's better. And you're like, how is that even fucking possible? So, like, I'm honestly blown away. I kind of agree that, especially if the reports on, like, the size and depth of this are true, and depending on what, everybody ekes out of this game in the next few weeks, I kind of feel like it's deserving of that title. Like, it's number one, you're walking, it's just more Elden Ring. That would have been enough. That would have probably been enough to secure one of the best DLCs of all time. Miyazaki has never let us down on a DLC. I'm pretty sure, like, I can't ever think of one that was, like, disappointing. And this has surpassed expectations on every level. Like, how much stuff there is, how many bosses there are, how big the world seems. Like, we have 8 new weapon types. Not weapons, weapon types. And they're dope as fuck. The perfume bottles ain't worth shit, but they are so fun. And I can't wait to find the dry leaf fist. I don't know where that shit is hiding, and I am playing this blind, but I will find you, and I will punch everybody in the face.
So I'm guessing you like it.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, so I've been playing with Chris and Carlos. And we've been getting our asses whipping, loving every second of it, man. I kind of want to jump on something you said, Brett, because yeah, that is when I was just out, just exploring, just wandering, getting lost. I'm like, I'm back, baby. This is the shit I missed. I love it. Love every second of this, because that game always rewards you for going off the beaten path every single time, and that's been great. And we're gonna get more into this, later on with some of these other questions, but this game will humble you, even if you beat the final boss in Elden Ring, you come in here, you thinking you're hot shit. No, you're not. No, you're not. You come in there doing mosquito bites and shit. These dudes take out half your energy with just looking at you, and it's like, I want to figure out, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I overcome this? It's great. Game's fucking amazing. And you remember, this is a game that, even though, yes, technically it is last gen, it's one of those games where I couldn't stop thinking about it even after I had gotten to platinum. I was like, Elden Ring, that's that experience, man. So good. It's everything you loved about From games, but just bigger and better, So I'm loving it, man. Chris, what about you?
Oh, it's fantastic, and I was very much looking forward to it. I think Brett covered a lot of stuff, and it's crazy to me how they were able to rebalance everything. And as strong as I thought my character was, I had the same problem you did, where I'm like, I'm barely chipping guys with the strongest shit I have. I'm like, keep switching weapons, like, shit, why isn't this working like it used to? Everybody's so goddamn beefy now. And like that night boss we fought, and she was like just swinging fire and ice swords around, just sword dancing like crazy. I'm like, whoa, do you ever stop attacking? It's like fighting Melania, except the shit is she's like throwing magic too. So it's pretty nuts. I like the open world. There's more mysteries now. There's like, hey, what is this place? I as soon as you land, you're like, why is there like holographic gravestones everywhere? What are these lumbering giant torch people, Colossus walking around? There's all this stuff going on, and so I'm hunting lore at the same time, just enjoying it. It's great. I'm really impressed, and I didn't understand too much the shadow blessings and the other stuff, the new level, but it's like, hey, they needed something, just like Brett said. If you power level in the old game, you came in here and just steamrolled everything, it wouldn't be enjoyable. So they needed something, and they pulled it off.
Yeah. Carlos, what are your thoughts?
Well, to quote a great philosopher, Adam Bale, they got to have something. and they did. I mean, I want, most of what everyone has mentioned is something that I want to echo. This game could be a fucking game. Like, I know it sounds dumb, but like this DLC can be a full-fledged game, and the new open world that they created is more expansive. It's more, adventurous. They got as many things to do as most games these days, as most open world games these days. So, I want to get a shout out to From Software for, just pulling this off again. And like Brett mentioned, it's crazy how a game that has all of these expectations can deliver and then some. And that the same thing for the DLC. It's just, I've been playing with Chris and Tony, and we've been having fun getting our asses kicked every time we fight a boss. Like Chris mentioned, that night boss, man. When I beat her, I beat her last night. I was with Chris and Manny on the stream, on the voice chat. I must have fought her like at least 30 times in a row. I was just going in, getting my ass kicked. Going in, getting my ass kicked. All right, so it's not working like this. Should I try this different spells? Okay, different spells. Okay, oh, it's not working. Okay, so should I summon one of the NPCs? Summon the NPCs. Okay, that's not working. Okay, should I summon a new person? All right, it's going to take for fucking ever because everyone is getting a summoned person from this world, and we don't have the luxury of Monster Hunter and getting Japanese dudes that are going to solve everything for us. We have to settle with Western people that are going to have the same issues that we have. And those don't even work. So, once you fine tune every single detail of everything, I've tried playing with Tony and Chris. We got our asses kicked. And it's like, okay, let me do this. I'm going to use these spells. I'm going to use a Great Rune this time. I only have 10 left, but fuck it. I need to beat this boss, but I'm only going to use it when I'm getting serious. I'm going to use these spells. I'm going to put this shield on, and then I'm just going to use a mimic tier. And after the 30th time, it freaking works. And it feels glorious, man. And that, that's what, Tony mentioned. That's something that you can expect from software games. I just feel like this is the heart of what video games is in general.
Yeah.
So want to give a shout out to that. And like you guys mentioned, the leveling up system is great because I'm one of those people that, in general, in all video games, in our RPGs that I play, I don't like going unprepared to stuff. I think Tony is the one that feels the most like this. Like I grind and I grind and I grind and I grind. And I'm like, I'm leveling up 10 more levels than what people are saying they should be to get this because I don't want to be unprepared. Well, I did that for Elden Ring, slip into the shadow of the Erdtree, and I'm back to square one. I'm getting my ass kicked. But I mean, I'm a sorcerer, so 3 hits will kill me from any boss, regardless of what level you are. But, the spells aren't doing as much damage. The Mimic tier is fucking up. But, you figure out a ways. And like that new leveling system, like Chris mentioned, I echo the same things. I have no clue what the hell that does. I have no clue what it's supposed to do, what it's supposed to buff. I assign them, I level them up, and then I just move on with the game. Because the rest is I don't need to worry about that stuff. I got other stuff to worry about. I got, new spells that I just found. There's new enemies, there's new places. And also, I do want to give a shout out, and this is just an Elden Ring thing, but like Tony mentioned earlier, going from place to place, going off the beaten path and finding new things, and it's rewarding to do that stuff. And I had this complaint last year when I was playing Starfield, when we were talking about dungeons and caves and stuff, and I was just going through caves, and there was just literally nothing to do in those caves. But in this game, every cave has a purpose. Either this is a cave that has a boss, or this is a cave that has these types of enemies. This is a cave that has this loot, or this is a cave that takes you to another part of the world. You're like, how the hell do I get to that part of the world? You don't know. You randomly go through a cave, 10 hours later, and then you're like, oh, I'm in this part of the world. And, it's just, I haven't really played video games this year, and I'm so glad that this came out, because, there's not that many games that do what this does. And like Brett mentioned earlier, if this is I think you said top 10 game. This is definitely a top 10 game for me, with the DLC and everything. It's goated status. I can't really see it any other way.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely insane. Real quick, Ninja X on YouTube says skill issue. It's supposed to be hard. I think he's answering the question of the the episode podcast, because what you just said, dude, I literally said that like 10 minutes ago. It's supposed to be hard. That's why you play these games, But yeah, no, it's fucking awesome. I didn't have a chance to play today doing, family stuff. I'll try to jump back in tomorrow, but I'm just trying to figure out, okay, I gotta, what am I gonna do? Because like Carlos, I know you were talking about how you did all these like different things. I'm like, I don't really have a lot of repertoire. I'm like, jump in and hack. That's the only move sets I have. So I gotta. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna probably just redo my armor, my weapon and stuff. One thing I want to know, we were asking this for ourselves. I'm like, how do you level up weapons in this? Like, is there a smith in this? Like, 'cause I don't see a way to go back to the main game. So I'm not sure.
I don't think so. So like, here's what I know. Like the fragments. Are you good with me saying this, Carlos?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The fragments. If anybody doesn't want to know, like, go away take a bathroom break, make a sandwich. Okay, cool. So they reduce damage to you by like 2 to 4%, and increase damage done by you by 2 to 4%.
Okay.
Which sounds minimal, but when you get like 20 of the things, that's essentially your leveling system. Like, you can still level yourself, but I think that's the equivalent of leveling up your weapons. So
okay, that makes sense.
You have to go back and level your weapons up with smithing stones, which is the reason I'm in Valley of the Giants or Mountain of the Giants right now. But I think it's the skull tree or the skull, whatever whatever those fragments are. I keep forgetting the name.
Yeah, no, we know what you're talking about. But it's interesting because you still collect smithing stones in this.
Yeah, because you're gonna have to go back and like the weapons that you find, you're gonna have to still upgrade them to 25.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially for like your ancient smithing stones. Like, I imagine there's new ancient smithing stones, but we're gonna have to work for them.
Ooh.
Yeah, I found a couple already, but the problem was, I'm like, where's the blacksmith in here?
Yeah,
because I can get back to the keep or anything from the original map, or not yet. I don't know if we keep trekking, we'll find a way back. I have no idea.
Yeah, it sounds like if we can't go ahead,
press a button.
Yeah, go ahead.
You just press well, I'm on Xbox. You just press right bumper to show the Shadow Realm and the lands between.
You could actually do that?
Yeah, you just go open your map and you cycle between them.
Oh shit. Okay.
Oh, no, I feel like a fool.
I feel stupid too. I feel dumb too. No, but yeah, it does seem like I just need to get more of those whatever the fuck they're called. Because I'm only level 3, so if those measurements are right, Brett, I'm only like 6% stronger,
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. Like,
and this shit hasn't made a difference at all. Like, I've noticed it. It hasn't made a difference with the bosses, but it has made it. I noticed a difference with the overworld enemies. That I'm like, oh, okay, I'm a little stronger now. But with the bosses, it's like, again, mosquito bites. I'm doing, and I have a weapon that's level 25.
It's good to be big, especially in the first part, which seems weird to me. Like, it seems almost like it's encouraging exploration, but before taking down a lot of big things, because a lot of these fragments that you find, they're in the open world, so it seems to be kind of telling you, play the game and explore before like throwing your head against the wall, which feels like a very standard, like the horse when you first come out of out Limgrave. Like it feels very From Software. It feels very Miyazaki to be like, well, maybe you have to come back. And so I'm like, all right, I'm coming back. And so I'm exploring, but like, holy fuck, it's big. It's so big. And like, I keep finding weapons that I like, and I'm like, God damn it, now I need to get more smithing stones. And now I have to go find like the last goddamn smithing stone bell bearing, because I hadn't gotten that one yet. And but I'm loving every second of it. And I found a sword. Milady is amazing, and I love the fact that it's named Milady. Can I just take a second?
Yeah. I think I found that one too. Yeah,
is that the light great sword? That's like a straight sword.
Yeah,
I think I found that one too. But I mean, we got more questions. So we'll move on. But game's fucking dope.
Can I mention a negative thing?
Sure.
Unless that's one of the questions.
No. So go ahead.
I will say this, and I'm kind of surprised. They didn't do this, and Tony, you've talked about this.
Yeah.
No trophies.
Yeah, that is a problem, it's a problem and also not a problem. It's a problem because you don't have a record of what you've done, but it's also not a problem because that means you're 100%, which we all have. It won't go down,
Yeah, I just like it because you have a record.
Yeah, that's what I like it for. Yeah,
I beat this game, or I did this, or stuff like that.
We didn't get any questions about it, but that raised up the question of trophies and their viability. A certain someone who we will not name said that they should abolish trophies and achievements, and people didn't like that very much. I didn't like that either. But difference of opinion and all that. Okay, let's move on. Now the questions are going to start getting a little spicy. This one's from Kishak, and by the way, I ordered them in a way where we have the Elden Ring stuff first, so I kind of divided up some questions. Kishak, Eurogamer got flack for saying that the Elden Ring DLC is too hard. Now that the DLC is out, I'm seeing people agreeing with Eurogamer's review. Should critiquing FromSoft games for being difficult just be shrugged off as skill issues? Brett, I kind of give you context before this. Basically, people who have beaten the game are complaining this is too hard. So what's your take on that?
I mean, it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like the people who are people who have beaten the game. Okay, I'm gonna say it. People who have beaten the game does not necessarily mean that you are good at the game. You can overlevel, you can cheese your way with the most powerful weapons. You can do a lot of different shit to push your way through this game. And now you think you're walking in with your level 200 character and 60 vigor with your fucking Moonlight Greatsword and think you're just going to cheese walk your way through the DLC. Meanwhile, Miyazaki's like, guess what, bitch? You're back to level 1 as far as I'm concerned. Fucking deal with it. And that's the beauty of it. If you walked in and cheesed the thing, it wouldn't be Dark Souls. And fucking trust me, this shit is Dark Souls. This shit is Dark Souls as fuck.
Yeah, and it's funny you said because Miyazaki specifically said that he wanted to bring back that old Dark Souls feel with this. So,
he damn did he deliver on that?
Whoa. But yeah, no. So yeah, okay. Now I need to go get on my little soapbox here, right? Well, not surprised that a new From Software game comes out and the old, should they add difficulty options? A whole fucking thing comes up. Like, are we not past this? Have we not learned what kind of games these are? These are difficult fucking games, And I want to bring up a quick story here. So, Gene Park, who we all love around here, he posted a video of this girl who was stuck on the second boss that, I don't know her name, but that night bitch, So this girl finally defeated after who knows how many attempts. She starts crying out of happiness, finally defeating the boss. And I'm like, that right there would be ruined if the game was easier. This game is meant to test you. You're supposed to persevere because once you do, There's no other feeling like that. You wouldn't get that feeling if the game had a difficulty option to lower it. So, like, this is the way it was meant to be played. And I know this brings up the whole conversation of like, oh, but games are supposed to be for everyone. Yes, video games are for everyone, but certain video games are not for everybody, you know? And this game is made for a very specific crowd, you know? And I'm not saying, we got a question about that, too, about niche, like 25 million players. Brett, I don't know if you know that. Elden Ring sold that many, which is insane.
Well,
you know, it's like you would think you would know what you're getting here. So I find that interesting. And then, you know, just the last thing before I let you jump in, Chris, I find it very interesting that apparently people who've beaten this game are complaining. I'm like, bro, just because you thought you were hot shit because you're like characters like level 100, whatever, that don't mean nothing, man. This, like Brett said, they bring you down to square one. You got to start all over again. And I think that's good. People need to be humbled, not only in video games, but in life. When you think you're hot shit, you need somebody to come down and smack you down. No, you're not. Get better, you know? So I love the fact that this shit is so fucking brutal. I've gone up against 2 bosses. I haven't been able to beat them yet. You see me complain, oh, they need to make it easier. No, I'm like, what do I need to do to beat these motherfuckers, you know? And I love that shit, man. So, yeah, again, I'm tired of the constant, because every single time when these games comes out, oh, it's so hard. Oh, my God. They got to make it more accessible. No, they fucking don't, you know? Either get good or don't play the fucking game, you know? All right.
Well, Miyazaki said almost as much, and like, I think like he made a statement that was, and I'm paraphrasing, but I'm pretty sure it was very close to, if they wanted everybody in the world to be able to play their game, they would have made it easier. Like it's not supposed to be accessible to everybody. You're supposed to earn it. And honestly, man, like that's the thing. Like, it took me 2 tries to get into the first Dark Souls. I tried it, and I was like, this feels desolate, kind of oppressive. I don't know if this is the vibe I'm looking for. And I put it down, and somewhere I heard, not even directly to me, like, it's okay, some people can't beat Dark Souls. And I fucking bristled. I was like, fucking excuse me? I know that wasn't directed at me, but God damn it, now I feel challenged. And I rose to the occasion. And like Tony said, like when you first time when you beat that, like the rush, oh my God. And I was hooked. It is supposed to be like that. And again, if you make something for everybody, people don't like it. The man is staying true, like, despite him selling 25 million copies, he is still sticking to, this is what I make, this is what and honestly, it's the beautiful thing about it is like, and some of you are going to hate this, but he's still making games for his core audience.
Yeah.
And I know you're not going to like to hear that because maybe it feels gatekeeper, or maybe it feels elitist or anything like that. But honestly, that's a beautiful fucking thing. Like, imagine if your favorite art band didn't just eventually sell out and start just doing something different. Or your favorite director did not quite be able to capture the magic again. Like, this motherfucker keeps capturing lightning in a bottle, but this time it's newer and somehow better lightning. It's amazing, but he keeps making the things his core audience wants. Just because you came to the party doesn't mean you get to dictate what kind of music we're playing now. That you always knew what this was.
You knew what kind of party this was. You don't get to come in here and tell the fucking DJ what to play. Either get with the program or leave. Very simple. You know, I know that sounds harsh, but let's keep it real here. You know, a lot of people are just loving to fucking complain, and I'm tired of it. You know, and not just with this game, just in general. Like, shut the fuck up. You know, deal with it or leave. It's very simple.
Well, and honestly, there is like an easy metric. There's like, find the fragments. They've literally said that makes it easier. It makes enemies hit you less hard. It makes you hit them harder. If you want the game to be easier, just run around and grab all of it. Just run past like
the problem is people don't want to put in that.
They don't want to put in that effort either. You know,
they don't want to put in that work. But the thing I was going to say is there's already a built-in metric to make the game more approachable. Summon people in to help you. Right? You don't have to go it alone. You know, either you figure out how you're going to use NPC summons and your Ashes of War and all this stuff. You could do all that stuff. Or you could go, hey, I'm having trouble here. let me pop a finger remedy and get some help. Right? That's built into the game. That's your difficulty option. You got some good guys in there to help you out, right? So you don't need sliders and like an easy mode or whatever, a fucking story mode, all that bullshit. The challenge is there, and this is how games used to be.
Yeah,
you didn't have a slide back. You could go back NES, Super Nintendo, whatever. We played brutal fucking 2D games, Castlevania, and all that shit. They were hard. They were hard. You couldn't change the options.
Yeah. Well, we have a question kind of related to that too. But does anybody else want to jump on this about From Software receiving critiques again about this shit?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Go ahead.
We, like you mentioned, we hear this every single iteration of a From Software game, and somehow each iteration keeps selling more. So I don't know what indicator that is, but it's not a bad one. And I will say this: games are supposed to be an art form, but the last 10, 15 years, they've turned more and more into a product. And when we have creators like Miyazaki intentionally doing these types of games as an art form, it gives less credence to people trying to criticize what they should or should not do in that. But when you have a multitude of games like Hellblade 2, which you can literally just play the game without doing anything, and it's 7 hours, and there you go. You can play Assassin's Creed with lower down difficulty sliders. You can play Game X, which most of them do have difficulty sliders. A lot of them do have story modes. God of War does. All these games have it. So, just complaining about the one game, it just makes it seem like it's only people who are seeing the headlines and seeing the trending topics and seeing it. Oh, Elden Ring is trending. Oh, what's Elden Ring? Oh, it's a game. Oh, and it's difficult. Oh, let's start complaining about that, because it doesn't really make sense when there's so many other games to play to be hung up on a game not being quote unquote for you. Yeah, and if it's not for you, then that's fine. There's 100,000 other games that are probably for you, but just like how Redfall isn't for me. It might be for Rich, but it's not for me. And
no, and that's absolutely not.
I don't think Redfall's for anybody, to be fair.
And that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
I just want to make a comment. So let me just say this: for the people that think Elden Ring is too difficult and they are unwilling to adapt and change to get better, just play a different game. This is how we have to phrase it. And to go to the point that Carlos made, the people that are seeing the headlines they're talking bad about the game, but it's also because they want to be a part of the conversation. Yeah. Because they see this game is getting high praise. Oh, so I have to try it out because everyone is saying it's amazing. And then they go into the game and then they just get wrecked and then they want to criticize. So they don't need to play every single game just because it's touted as being an outstanding masterpiece. They have to do their research. There are plenty of ways they can watch gameplay online to understand what the game is. And then, of course, from there, they make an informed decision as whether or not they want to try it out. But definitely don't criticize saying it's too difficult, because like you guys said, the game is designed to be that way.
Yeah, exactly. I want to get to the next question because, go ahead, Carlos, because the next question is direct. Actually, the next two questions are directly related to difficulty. But go ahead.
We're at the point where, and I mentioned this before, From Software games are pretty much genre now, because everyone is not everyone, but a lot of folks are trying to mimic it. In terms of developers, they're trying to develop Souls-like games. Everyone mentions it. Everyone says, "Oh, it's been influenced by the Soulsborne games," and so it's essentially a genre. So you know what you're getting into, and it's a successful genre. It's a popular genre. It sells millions of copies. So it's like going to a freaking death metal concert and complaining because people are screaming.
Yeah.
You should know what you're getting into, and that's just how it is. If it's not like that, then it's not death metal.
Yeah.
If Souls doesn't challenge you in any sort of way, because it challenges everyone. It challenges me. It challenges Tony, Chris, and Brett. Brett and Chris are the aficionados of this genre, and they're still challenged to this day. So what it's crazy to think that just the experience should be curated to you just because you feel some way.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right. Go ahead.
Else wouldn't necessarily be for me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like fucking Animal Crossing isn't for me. I'm not asking for the game to be changed. It's not for me, and that's fine. You know, it's crazy. All right. Next up, related, Jay Shep asked us some questions. Elden Ring currently has a 59% score on Steam, with players with players claiming the game is too difficult. And here's his question. Let me finish the question. If a game with no easy option is too difficult for players, should they be given a refund? Fuck no. Okay, Chris, this goes to your point. Were we asking for refunds in the 80s and 90s when those games were whipping our fucking asses? I think I beat like 2 of my Nintendo games, and I had a bunch of them because they were tough as... Those games made Elden Ring seem easy. You know, we weren't complaining about refunds. The question to me, it kind of seems like that you have a right to finish a game. No, you don't. No, you don't. You know, so I don't know if that's your specific, if that's how you feel, Jay Shep, but that notion is sickening to me. Oh, I can't beat this game. I deserve a refund. That's crazy. And again, it might be because I'm an old man and I grew up in the 80s where you didn't beat games, you know, but it blows my mind. Like, are people actually asking for refunds because they can't beat the game? Are you fucking kidding me? Really? This is the point we've gotten to in gaming where people are like, they feel like entitled to fucking a refund because you can't beat a game? Wow. We're at that point in fucking society now. Jesus Christ, man. Jay Shep's in the building. He says he doesn't feel away. But yeah, Chris, get in here, man, because I'm like, what the fuck?
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to like Grandpa Gamer. I walked uphill, in the snow to go to school. But I mean, I remember playing original Ninja Gaiden on the NES. I used to leave my system on. I used to put tape over the light so my mom didn't see it. Leave that shit on so I could play it the next day and pick up where I left off so I didn't lose my progress. Like, that's how hardcore we used to play shit. That game was brutal,
yes.
But the thing is, the victory is always sweeter when the fucking shit isn't like that challenging. Like, you got to figure it out. Like Carlos said, I fought that night like maybe 15 times. I kept going, all right, I'm going to try this summon. I'm going to try Mimic Tier this time. All right, I'm going to switch my swords, my shields. All right, I'm going to get nimble. All right, I'm going to go full faith. I'm just going to hit it with magic. You just try different things. And then finally, I did something that worked. And I beat her. I was happy as shit. I'm like, finally. And then it opened up a whole other part of the map, and I was like, praise the sun. I'm outside again, and I can go fucking explore and find other shit. I found America's statue that's decapitated. Apparently those are where you can find some more of the blessings, by the way, so look out for those statues. But yeah, it's great. And it's like, I was contemplating, I was playing a little bit earlier, and I was like, maybe I could try one of those fire colossus. And I got near him, and one of them in that area, he throws fire, but it homes in on you. I'm like, nope, no sir. I got my horse and I rode. I'm like, no, I ain't ready for that heat, but I'm gonna figure it out, right? That's part of the fun. Right? I don't think most people would buy this game the expectation like, this is not fucking, like you said, Animal Crossing. This isn't even a Mario Brothers. Even Mario Brothers gets hard.
Yeah.
But you meet the challenge. Like, you may not finish it, right? Maybe you're like, it's gotten a little rough at the end. Look how many people jumped off Portal. Portal you don't even have the environments to challenge. Like, half the people don't even beat that game. It's just but you know what you're getting into. Nobody lied. Miyazaki, nobody from From Software lied to you about what to expect. The game has a reputation. The company has a reputation. Do you know?
Yeah, I mean it's the same. It's the same for a game like Cuphead. It's the same for a game like Mega Man 9. Like these games are what they are, and they wouldn't be what they are if they changed to be something else. And
You didn't buy 100% of the content. You buy the right to try to 100% the content.
Yep.
Yep.
And as far as the whole Steam ratings, I feel like I don't know. I don't know for a fact, but I'm just gonna speculate. I feel like a lot of them were just jumping into the train because a lot when the DLC the day it came out, it already had a lot of negative reviews. It was the day it came out.
You think they jumped on the hate train? Because people
Well,
love
either
doing
hate
that.
train or maybe they started the game, got their ass kicked. Because I don't know what the criteria is to review on Steam. I'm guessing you have to own the game, but I feel like some folks just felt like they were gonna go back from their old Elden Ring safe and then just run amok on this DLC. And then they're like, oh, everyone else is complaining about it, then I'll complain about it too.
Yeah, but no, that the notion of I deserve a refund because I can't beat the game. Fuck out of here with that shit. That is retarded.
You can do a lot of things in this game without actually fighting the bosses.
Yeah,
like it's crazy how many things you can actually do.
Yeah, again, I haven't beaten the first two bosses, but I've done a lot of shit in this game. Like I already feel like I got my money's worth. And I'm not even done yet, with exploring, because now that's what I'm really going to do, just really, really explore, But I don't know, man. Again, it's entitled fucking generation, man. It's insane. Go back to play NES games and get back to me on that shit, You could tell anyway, go on.
J-Shep says, do you guys think Steam will cave into the negative reviews and give out refunds? Hell no.
Fuck no.
I don't think so.
And they shouldn't either. Retarded.
This game is not broken.
It's not broken.
So
there's nothing wrong with it. There's something wrong with the players. Get good, bitch. It's that simple. All right. Next up, another one from Mr. J. Shep. If Elden Ring added a difficulty setting, would fans feel some type of way? Yes, and they would be right to, because it would fuck up the entire game. I said this at the beginning of the show. It would fundamentally change everything. You wouldn't get that feeling of earned victory. It would absolutely change it. And again, I'm so glad Miyazaki's sticking to his guns. Think about it like this. My man stuck to his guns and the game sold 25 billion copies. He doesn't need to change shit. That game, that's Call of Duty numbers, they don't need to change anything. To bring more people in. If you lower the difficulty, you're gonna lose fucking people, because the core people that have been in it, they're not gonna play it anymore. I wouldn't. Fuck that shit. I'm not playing these games to reach the ending. I want that fucking challenge, bro. And if you take that away, you're gone. And again, going back to what I said before, this is why a lot of things out there are failing nowadays, because they're trying to make it for everybody. If you make something that's for everybody, you make something that's for nobody. So you when you focus on a specific demographic, yeah, it may be gatekeepy, but that's how it is, man. Again, I'm not going into these fucking Animal Crossing forums. Change it for me. Add blood. Add fighting. That's crazy talk. That game is made for those people, just like Elden Ring is made for us. So no, don't. Again, I'm so glad Miyazaki and the crew are not changing shit, and they shouldn't.
J-Shep asked another really good question, and I feel like it has a lot of answers. I'll give one of them. Yeah. Why does adding a easy difficulty affect your playthrough? So my answer, and I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna have different answers as well to add to it. But I feel like if Miyazaki and the team focus on adding difficulty settings for the game, I just feel like the actual normal whatever run of the game just won't be the same.
It won't be the same. It'll be affected. They're making a game with a very specific vision, and that sets a very specific mood, right? If you make a difficulty setting, that oppressiveness you feel, that sense of I don't know what's going to happen next, that's gone. That fundamentally changes everything. Adding a difficulty setting would affect, even a normal difficulty, because it wouldn't have a honed vision, like it would just ruin everything,
And they'll just be worried about, oh, if it's a normal mode, I got to make sure it's not broken. If it's on media, on the next lower difficulty, I just want to make sure it's not, completely broken. Like, so they'll just focus on a whole bunch of other stuff that's not the actual curated experience.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I don't understand why we can't have curated experiences. Have you seen, when you have curated experiences, you generally get a better product or at least a product that people are happy with because it's focused, Again, oh my God. It's the Applebee's of gaming. This is what people seem to want. It's like everything for everybody, But are you going to get as good of a steak in Applebee's as you would at a dedicated steakhouse? No, you won't. It's like, come on, man, fuck out of here with that shit. J Step goes, not trying to take over the show. I just wanted to understand where you guys are coming from. So, is beating Elden Ring a badge of honor? It can be,
That's kind of the point.
Yeah, that is the point. Yeah, you beat it. Yeah.
You rewarded if you had a difficulty slider because it's about the challenge.
Yeah.
And the challenge is shared amongst everybody. And that does come with bragging rights. It comes with a sense of pride. And that's important. Right? Like the whole formula for Dark Souls is that the litmus part of like this, the litmus test for like, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. The test for understanding and increasing your own agency through overcoming difficult things is something, a key part of that is knowing that it is objectively difficult. Not that you feel it's difficult. Like, it doesn't matter that you beat a challenge or rose to the occasion on something that you thought was difficult, but knowing that it is in fact objectively difficult and knowing that you passed that means that that knowing that it's objectively difficult means that you didn't pass it by accident.
Yeah.
Right? It's a form of agency gained by knowing that you passed a challenge that was hard. That's why we have the saying in the community, a win's a win. Like, if you won, you won. Take that badge of honor. You earned it. Right? So like
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, that wouldn't exist if you're like, oh, I beat it on easy mode. Like, yeah, but like, or when you're like, I beat Elden Ring. Like, yeah, but what mode did you beat it on? Like, it's being able to say you've beaten it and having those bragging rights and feeling like you get to be called a Souls veteran now. Congratulations, you've gone through the gauntlet of punishing difficulty and emerged victorious. You should feel proud.
Yes,
you honestly should.
And just to add to, go ahead, Carlos. I got something to add to that.
Just real quick, there, in the legend of the game and in the legend of the players playing the game, there's a certain person that's really famous in the community, and that's Let Me Solo Her, who's helped out the community and impeccably defeated Melania hundreds, thousands of times just wearing a loincloth and a fucking helmet, and I guarantee you, this dude has died over 50 to 100 times while playing Shadow of the Erdtree.
Yeah.
Guarantee it.
No, you're 100% right about that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you said that because, like, a big part of this community is community. It was kind of, it's been that way since the first game. So when people talk about, like, summoning doesn't necessarily, I think, always make it easy. Sometimes it makes tough. Like, I had to stop summoning. I love co-op play. I absolutely love it. I had to stop summoning for my own boss battles about halfway. Once I got past into the mountaintop of the giants, I just had to solo the rest of the game because I couldn't keep carrying phantoms through my fucking game because they were beefing up the boss HP and they were making them all super fucking aggressive. So I just went. They were all just fucking. The boss was roided out, and then my two cooperators would die in like 1-2 hits. And like, okay, cool. So now let me take on Turbo Ultra Boss Premium. And so like, I just stopped summoning people. But then, you know what? But I still go back. Like, one of my favorite things, I'll just sit around for hours and be summoned into other people's games to help them carry through. Like, keep on with the darkness, like keep pushing through. Like it makes me happy to kind of do that. Like I'm no let me solo her, but I've certainly put in my fucking hours just sitting around. And honestly, I get rewarded for it. Like I get so many goddamn souls. I walk around soul rich all the time. Half the game I'm over leveled. Although I will say, just for all you that say it's too hard, I am playing the DLC. I was playing it I started playing at like level 103, and I'm now up to level 111. I started with a plus 18 weapon, and I'm now up to a plus 20 weapon. I just ran that shit early, and I am just face rolling it. I'm getting completely obliterated, but I am pushing through, and I am making progress. So if I can, you can.
That's it, you know. I forgot the point I was going to make, but okay, I think this is going to be a little sloppy, but I'll get through it. Because you're going to have people go, oh, but you're excluding people who don't have the necessary skill set. That's like me complaining that I can't enter like a fucking bodybuilding contest. That's not for me. That's for them. You know, like yeah, it's insane, man.
Not everything's for everybody, and like the people who say that they think that like, yo, because I paid the full retail price, I own all of the content on the disc.
No, you
it's
don't.
like, no, you just because you buy a pass to Disneyland does not mean you get to ride every roller coaster. Maybe if you play in your time right and like that's bad analogy, but like if you work at it, yeah, you can get through it. I'm pretty sure 90% of people have what it takes to beat a Dark Souls game, and Elden Ring is included in that as a Soulsborne game. Like it's not. I mean, I literally, I'm just in some random groups. I see people constantly beating shard bearers. Like there are people constantly. These aren't the most elite people in the world. Trust me, I have fought some of them. Chris and I just fucking really. I'm upset that I can't destroy invaders with Chris on PlayStation 5 because it was honestly and genuinely one of my favorite things. I might even actually also buy the game on PS5 because I have it on Xbox. Because I have my saves on PS5. I have my characters on PS5. My girlfriend's playing on her shiny new Xbox, so I'm kind of over there with her and my buddy. But I miss face rolling Steam invaders with Chris, and I will tell you, a lot of Elden Ring players aren't great, and I think he'll agree with me.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know, what questions is like, is it a skill issue? To me, in some cases it can be a skill issue, but to me it's more of a patience issue.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
If you are patient and observant and have perseverance, you're gonna make it. I'm not fucking skilled, you know, but I make it through these games because I don't stop. I'm like, okay, this isn't working. Let's try something else. Oh, I'm getting my ass beat, but I see a sliver of hope. What can I do? You know, so yeah, you don't need to be the most skilled you don't need to be homeboy. You know, let me solo her. You don't need to be on that level. If you have patience, you can make it through this game, and that's why I agree with what you said, Bert. 90% of people can beat these games if they want to. If they want to, you know.
I mean, I tried to beat what's the blood guy's name?
Moog.
Moog. There we go. I was trying to beat Moog for like 6 hours the night the DLC came out. I was just underleveled, not ready to do it, and like I had to like rest and come back the next day and level up a little bit, come back a little bit later. But the thing is about Souls games, and I think everybody that's quote unquote gotten good will notice this or has noticed this. I'm interested to hear what other people have said, but like when I got better at Dark Souls, I got better at other games. And when I went back to any Dark Souls game, a lot of that skill kind of transferred because it's pacing and timing. And it genuinely requires you to practice and get better. So subsequent playthroughs are way easier because a good portion of the thing that's gotten better isn't just your character, it's you the player. So I'm curious, do you guys feel that after you were tested and beat your first Soulsborne game, that you were kind of better at other games after that?
Not really. because I just kind of just go back to my old ways when I play other games, which just kind of just go through them without thinking too much. You don't need to think. Let's just be honest, A lot of games, I think a lot of games are not difficult enough to warrant that,
Well, like I feel like it really like it tested me and got me to practice. Like I feel like Wulong made me better at parrying. I feel like I was not great at parrying until Wulong, and that game is just like, guess what? We're parrying.
But I will say one of the things I love about Souls games, every one of them has this. They have that one boss that's a fucking wall. Whereas the game's like, you're not getting through the rest of this game unless you learn how to beat this guy. And then when you beat him, you run through like the next 5 bosses like nothing because you learned, right? And then there's that next boss that's a fucking wall. And then when you learn the ways of defeating them, then the next bunch of bosses are easy. I love the way it teaches you, but you're not going to get there if you're not patient. You got to learn that you have to die 50 million times. It's just how it is. I wish people would just accept that. And again, just going back to what we're saying, that's why I'm so tired of this same conversation coming up every 4 years or whenever when these games come out. Every time you would think people would learn by now what you're getting into,
The most popular streamer right now is a guy named Kai Cenat, right?
Yeah.
The dude's he did a streamathon for Elden Ring.
Is he that idiot that caused that fucking riot in New York?
Yeah, that one.
Dumbass, yeah.
He's not by any means good at the game, but he persevered. He died hundreds of times in certain bosses, and even that guy did it. So like Tony mentioned, most of it is endurance. Most of it is patience. I feel like it's 95% because I don't feel like I'm necessarily great at games.
Yeah.
Like I'm not freaking Riku. Like Riku is someone I'm like, that dude, any game he plays, any game he touches, he's gonna be fucking great at it. But a game like Dark Souls and Elden Ring, it's a game that you just have to be patient. Whether you're either figure out a way to defeat bosses or get people that help you out in certain ways that you can't handle, or choose different builds, choose different character types. You might not be good at parrying, so might as well be a caster or something. I don't know. Like there's just so many different ways you can approach the game that is beneficial to you beating it. That there's really no wall. There's no wall somewhere that's stopping everyone from being able to beat this game. Yeah. The skill wall is only that high. It's knee deep. It's not really that high. The biggest wall is patience.
Yep. And a lot of people don't have that now.
Monster Hunter gets up there in the same skill range, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's another game that requires patience,
Well, Monster Hunter, especially because you're you're beating on this freaking monster for 3 or 4 hours, and you have no idea when the hell it's gonna go down because there's no health bar.
It's hilarious. Yeah, at least in this game you get a health bar. Monster Hunter's like, all right, we'll see.
You beat him.
I feel like it's drooling. Drooling.
Like if I think it slowed down a little bit, then he gets crazier. Like, oh no, he's got a second win, son. All right, good stuff. All right, next up here, another question. Oh, this one's a sponsored question. Mr. Romudeth sponsoring an extra J-Shep question. With almost every other game released these days being a Soulslike, is this still a niche genre? No, it's not. It's obviously not. Every other game, he's right. It's like every other game seems to be a Soulslike. We're over here hyped up for Wukong. That's another one. Stellar Blade. That's one. You even had the fucking Star Wars game taking some elements. It's clear that we had
not to mention God of War.
God of War took some of that. Lies of P was that. It's like it's obvious that, like Carlos, you said this, like these games started a genre. Like a genre is identifiable, right? This is identifiable. Definitely a genre, not niche. When every other game, even 2D games, take some of this shit. So yeah, I think that answer is pretty simple. Absolutely not a niche. Another one here. and this is one we kind of discussed last night when we were just playing the game. Alpha Chuck, is it possible or fair for a DLC to win Game of the Year?
Controversial questions.
Very controversial.
I mean, I feel like it's if the DLC is better than any standalone game, even by itself, I feel like it could, and I feel like in a just world it shouldn't. But we're a far cry from that.
I mean,
I'm just gonna go ahead and say yes. It can be a Game of the Year. Fuck it. There's no fucking world where where someone can tell me that Hellblade 2 is much more of a worthy experience of a game as Shadow of the Erdtree, because they give you the exact and Hellblade 2 is a game of itself and it's worthy of winning Game of the Year, but there's no way someone can tell me it's more worthy of being nominated for a Game of the Year contender when I've had much more of an experience playing a video game than Shadow of the Erdtree. I feel like it's if it's a DLC where it's a little level and stuff where it doesn't really have that much content, and it gets more trickier. But this is bigger than most games.
Yeah, Rich, you gonna say something?
Yeah, I would like to make a comment. Yes, I do think it is fair that it could be in the Game of the Year conversation, but I just want to clear this up for Carlos right now. It will not win Game of the Year because it's going to win Best Ongoing Game at the Game Awards later this year.
Oh no.
Yeah. Jay Shep says, "Don't let Nintendo find out DLC could win Game of the Year." I don't get that joke.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what he's alluding to, but what the thought that came to my mind is like, Mario Kart 8 is going to get nominated for Game of the Year because they added fucking more courses.
Yeah. You know what? I'll go down the line. This is a fun question. Manny, what do you think? You're muted.
Let's see. Man, because I can't give it Game of the Year because it is, you can't access this. It is not a game unto itself. If you could access Shadow of the Erdtree on its own without having to play up to a certain amount of a percentage of the base game, I would say yes.
Yeah. All right.
That's a fair stipulation.
Yeah. I guess I'll go next because what I was going to say before Manny said what he did was I want this is what I was going to say, and I'll give you my updated answer. I was going to say I want to say no because it's a DLC. You know me, I'm a literal guy. Like DLC, it's not the full game, can't not nominated. But it's becoming harder for me to defend that position because Elden Ring, Erdtree, haven't even finished it yet. It is better than some games I played. But Manny's 100% right. And that's my out. That's why I can still defend what I believe or what I want to say. If you can't play it independently, no, can't be nominated, in my opinion. Brian, you go next.
I guess I have to be that guy. I say no, and I hard disagree with Carlos and Rich on this one because it's more on the principality of it all. Because if you were able to nominate a DLC for a Game of the Year in that aspect, then you leave it open for potentially having a game that could release a Shadow of the Erdtree every single year and win Game of the Year every single time. And hence you erase effectively the hard work of every other game studio that year. And I really don't want to live in that world because I think that's very bad. Because then you're saying that, although your games, again, I'm not talking about Hellblade, I'm just talking about in general. Although games may have come out in that year, they don't compare to this DLC for this highly praised game. And again, the game may be great, the game may be pure 10 out of 10, and the DLC may be 9.5 out of 10 or whatever. the fact that you can just say, oh yeah, because this DLC came out and it's great, any standalone game that stands against it is not comparable. And I don't like that as an idea.
I disagree. Surprise, surprise. Because you mentioned, well, every time we get a Shadow of the Erdtree, is like, well, newsflash, we don't get this every year. But it's not even close.
No, I know we don't, but I'm just saying that it's a hypothetical, and I don't like that hypothetical because it leaves that door open for that scenario, and I don't like that.
Like the last DLC that we've gotten that's this critically claimed that people go for is the Witcher one, that and that was however long ago. So I feel like I see where you're coming from, but I just feel like the reality that we live in is nowhere near to that hypothetical ever coming true. That I'm not scared to support and advocate for games that actually deserve the praise. And I'm also not a stickler for technicalities, since a lot of people and I feel like some people in this panel would find it. I think Tony would find it easier to use technicalities in order to create barriers, or to create the foundation of the barriers of what should entail what a game is, or something for Game of the Year, just because it makes it easier to define them and exclude them. While I don't mind meddling in the gray areas where discussion could be had about why this game should be considered, as opposed to some lackluster DLC for another game.
Yeah.
See, like that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like you people will put up artificial barriers, but I think the question on the table was if this was its own game, is the content included in it the best? If it were like, if we live in a world where like Miles Morales was its own game, but Shadow of the Erdtree is DLC, and if you compare those two things, I feel like you're still getting a more complete experience already with Shadow of the Erdtree. Like where do you draw the line? I guess you can say you draw the line at whether it's independently accessible, but like it's a sliding scale. This is particularly not accessible. Not only do you have to have the base game, you have to make optional progress pretty far in the base game. But like this game has always been intentionally obtuse, and the fact that this game could be a contender, or that this could be a contender for like gaming, the fact that we're asking this question, I think, speaks volumes of the gaming industry and asks its own questions. And I think to not bring those questions to light based on a technicality is less than great.
And Brett, I will say, I will just add to the last sentence you mentioned. It speaks volumes of the gaming industry as a whole, but it also speaks volumes of From Software and Elden Ring as well.
Yeah, but just to be fair, this same exact conversation was brought up with Blood and Wine. Same exact conversation, because the game, the DLC was so highly regarded that people were like, "Yo, maybe this should be Game of the Year." So we've had that before.
Even then, again, as like me, I love me so much at 3. Even then, I would say no. Like DLC.
Oh no, Brian, I'm with you on this one. I'm going to say, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They should not be included in the conversation. Period. Like in my opinion. Again, as much as I love that game and I think the DLC is better than most games, it still should not, because it has the potential just to say, "Oh yeah, your game is on the same level of quality as a DLC from another game," and it's like, I just don't like that as an idea, and it does not sit well with me. It just doesn't seem right that that's how things, that's how the stadium should be set. And no, I don't like it.
Yeah,
I think it's wrong.
By the way, obviously a clean answer for this would just be make a category for TLC, and that's it. Clean break there. Chris, what's your take on this, man?
Well, I agree with Manny and you and Brian on that. Now I'll say this. So with Carlos, I agree. Does this deserve to be recognized in that level? Absolutely, because it's a fantastic experience. But I agree with what you guys said and what Brian said, is that you open the door for that to be abused, because then Treyarch or whatever could just generate, hey, Call of Duty Zombies, look, we made a popular DLC. Is that Game of the Year? No, not really. And and we have to separate the experience. Now, the caveat to that is if it's a standalone DLC. If it's something like Undead Nightmare, where you could fire it up by itself and play it, and I loved Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare. I thought it was fantastic, and it was sold by itself. Yeah, it was its own game, right? So if you said, "Oh, it's its own experience," yeah, it has the same characters with its own thing. Absolutely. So with this though, I mean, as much as I love it, I could separate that. It's worthy. It's more worthy than other games we've seen, other games we've played this year. It's at a higher level, much higher level, but a Game of the Year? No, it can't.
Yeah,
I will say this, Chris. I understand your point, and I recognize it. But using Call of Duty was interesting because Call of Duty releases a game essentially every year, and it's pretty much DLC, and it fits as a category of Game of the Year every year. So
yeah, but it's not DLC. That's the point. It isn't. It is not DLC.
It's not in name. It's just it.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but it's not DLC. You know.
I mean,
I know, like Carlos. I know you said you want to kind of stick in the gray area, which is cool. Me, I like black and white. You know.
Well, I don't.
Yeah. But again, I'm not saying I'm against, because I love this fucking DLC. It's great. You know, but we need to make, in my opinion, obviously, if somebody feels differently, that's cool, because we're not going to answer this. We're not here to change the entire industry. I'm just saying, for me, I like making very distinct delineations. You know,
it just feels arbitrary. Yeah.
Doesn't feel arbitrary, but it seems like necessary. It's like, this is not a full game, it shouldn't be considered. End of story. That's my opinion. But if you feel differently, that's fine. You know, I'm not going to argue with you about it. Rich, what's your take on this, man?
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment. I think both you and Brian made some very good points. But let me just make a comment to Carlos directly, because I heard him reference Hellblade 2 multiple times. Let me tell you right now, and let me be very clear for you as well as the listeners, Hellblade 2 is not Game of the Year. Now, if they decide to put that in there, then that maybe Phil Spencer, gave some money to, make sure that happened. But no, that's not a Game of the Year. But I will say this. I'll be very curious to see, when we do revisit this conversation at the end of the year, where Elden Ring is at, because there are still some games coming out that we haven't all played yet that could be in that conversation. And that's why I said I'm very curious to see where we're going to be at in December, because I know there was a game that we played. I know Tony and I have played earlier this year. I thought that was a pretty awesome game, Stellar Blade. So yeah, there's a lot of other games that I think are going to be in that conversation. I just want to see where Elden Ring is going to be at when you compare all those other games after we've all had the chance to play them.
Yeah, I do think we should have a dedicated DLC category. I think we do, because there's a lot of really good DLCs that are dropping. Almost every year we get at least one really good one. So I think we should have a category, and then it'll be fair,
Well, I do have a question though.
Yeah,
and to the detriment of the timing of the show, because I feel like this could ramble on for a while.
Yeah,
but are DLCs and expansion packs, should they be treated the same? Expansions, should be treated the same?
That's a good question, because they kind of can be,
Yeah, because all expansions are DLC, but not all DLCs are expansions.
Yeah. I don't think we'd answer that, but that's a great question, because the lines are blurred there. But yeah, we do have a bunch more questions here, so let's move on. Foolish Pupil, first question here. He's a relatively new listener. Shout out to him. Sometimes he's in the chat. Now that Marvel vs. Capcom 2, along with all those other games, are going to be released, what is the probability of getting Marvel vs. Capcom 4? And the second part of this, who would you like to see in a potential Marvel vs. Capcom 4 roster? Again, I've had this theory for a long time, especially since Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite came out, that once Disney acquires the X-Men, we're gonna have Marvel vs. Capcom 4, right? That's happened. Obviously, Disney has acquired X-Men, and I think them releasing the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection could be a precursor, right, to releasing Marvel vs. Capcom 4. I'm curious if they're going to re-release Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I think correct me if I'm wrong about this. I think you could play it on PS5. It was a PS4 game, right? Please correct me if I'm wrong about that. So all these games are going to be available. The stage is set. We don't know if that's going to happen, but I think if there was any time this game could be a possibility, it is now, because we're finally getting all these games. Finally, if you heard me on the last show, man, I talked about this for half an hour. I went nuts. Brett, you weren't here for that, so I'll tell you a little story. And you know this. I loved all those Capcom X-Men games and Street Fighter X-Men, all that stuff on the Saturn, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll tell you the story real quick because you haven't heard it. So it was announced during Nintendo Direct. I was not watching Nintendo Direct. I was at work, right? I'm talking to a colleague just about random stuff, and I see an email pop up from Capcom, a PR, and I see the first part of the headline says, Marvel versus Capcom. I stop reading the email. I look at my colleague, and I tell him, I'm like, dude, for almost 10, 20 years, I've been waiting for Capcom to put X-Men Trail the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men versus Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, and Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in one collection. I'm like, if this email says what I think it does, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I read the rest of the email. All those games are in there, and the Punisher arcade game. I went to the bathroom and fucking screamed. and I said this, on air, and I'll tell you too. I'm not saying I'm depressed or anything, but things have not really made me very happy in the last couple of years, right? Like my excitement level maybe reach a 6. I haven't felt this happy in years. Like genuine joy, Like holy shit, I'm capable of feeling this shit, Oh, the only thing that could get me as hyped as this, Virtua Fighter 6 announcement, right? So I'm going fucking nuts. Anyway, so that's some context there. So yes, now that these games are coming, right? Yes, I think Marvel vs. Capcom 4 is more of a possibility because people thought this weren't going to happen. That's why you have that whole hashtag free Marvel vs. Capcom movement that started during the pandemic. Maximilian dude was kind of one of the big guys. If you saw his stream, I'm telling you, if we were live streaming that shit, that would have been me. Losing, that would have been done. I would have been done. Okay, it was the reverse of what happened with that Xbox conference. After that shitty Dragon Age reveal, the rest of the show was a blur to me. I was so angry I couldn't concentrate over how they ruined Dragon Age. Right? This was the opposite. I wouldn't have been able to concentrate on the rest of the Nintendo Direct because I would have been like, "Are you kidding me? Look what the fucking bring it back!" Oh man. Great shit. So yeah, I think the door's definitely open for Marvel vs. Capcom 4. Will it happen? Who knows? But, man, listen. Right now, I don't even give a fuck about Marvel vs. Capcom 4. Give me these games I've been wanting, man. I was talking to my boy about this yesterday. I'm jumping right on. I'm playing them in order. X-Men, fucking Marvel Superhero. Man, I'm done. I could ramble about that shit for the rest of the podcast, man. I'm so fucking happy. Echo Crimson, I want to touch on that because I was talking to one of my boys about this. Imagine, because we don't have a release date for this game yet. We just said 2024. Imagine, because Evo's coming next month, right? Imagine if this gets announced at Evo. Like, it's dropping now. Oh, shit! I would go nuts. So Evo would be imagine if, hold on, I'm getting too hyped up right now, Imagine at Evo, the game debuts, and then you have tournaments right there. Crazy.
Well, if that's the case, it's not going to be this year's one.
There won't be this one, but I would love if it gets announced, like the release date. C-Fresh, is there crossplay? I don't know. But if you have an Xbox, your ass out. Xbox for you. Echo Crimson, with the timing of X-Men 97 with the Marvel's Capcom collection, it's a true big brain move. MVC4 is coming. Yeah, man. Tony, are you playing it on PS5 or PC? Both. I'm so. What happened? Yeah, I'm gonna get both. This is what I'm probably gonna do, because Capcom's gonna hook me up with the review code. I'm gonna ask for a review code for PC, and then I'm gonna buy physical on PS4 because I don't trust fucking Disney that they're gonna pull the license and we don't get these games. They did it before. It has
nothing to do with them pulling the license. It's more of the fact that you have to pay for a license.
Yeah. So I don't trust that. Yeah. I don't trust that they're going to take these games away from us, I should say. So I'm going to buy it. This is how much I want to support it. I'm going to buy it on PS4. I'll even buy a Switch copy. I'm not going to touch a Switch copy, obviously, but I want to show the support. I did the same shit with Streets of Rage 4. I bought that shit on everything, Like, this is real right now, people, All right. Next up. What's up?
Quick question. So I remember the whole Xbox delay stuff. That was also for this, right?
No, it's just not announced at all.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's why those Xbox guys were pissed off. It's not delayed. It's just not coming.
It's on Switch, on PlayStation, and PC.
Yes,
and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let us also mention these are platforms where people actually buy their games.
That's a good point. Yeah. You can't toss this shit on Game Pass,
So what's the game that's coming out later on Xbox?
Wukong.
It got delayed. Wukong.
Oh,
that's right.
For different reasons. Yeah.
Wukong. And I said this on the Thursday show. I'm wondering, did the previous collections, because they were on Xbox, all those other collections, Capcom collections, came out on Xbox. I'm wondering, did they just not sell enough where Capcom's like, fuck it, we're not going to bother, Because it's not a matter of exclusivity. It's on Switch. It's on fucking PlayStation. It's on PC, So I don't know. It's a good question, man. Oh, by the way, the other part of the question was, who would you like to see in a roster? Well, here's the problem. Like, they have I don't want to see any of these shitty new characters they've created in the last 10 years. I don't want to see Miss Marvel. I don't want to see Kamala Khan. I don't want to see none of this shit, So do me that favor at least. I don't want to see any of that nonsense.
Question. So here's another question. What is it? The question show?
Excuse me?
What about the Sony characters?
What do you mean Sony characters?
Like Venom and Spider-Man and stuff.
Well, here's the thing.
Are there different hurdles for that?
Sony,
or is it just...
Man, you could correct me on this. Sony has the movie rights to those. They don't have the other rights to those. They could put them on anything.
No, Yeah, no, they don't. Sony only has the film rights, as does Universal has the Hulk's film rights and stuff like that. But there's all kinds of jiggering that has to happen. But right now, since they got 20th Century, they got most of their properties back.
Yeah. So Carlos, it just affects the movies. It doesn't affect anything else. Like, for example, what's up?
It also doesn't affect TV.
No, it doesn't. No, everything else is game.
And you can do a Spider-Man animated show.
This is why when you had there was an Avengers show that was out, around when the MCU kind of started. They had X-Men and Spider-Man in that show.
Yeah.
And this was before Disney.
But what happened during the era of when 20th Century Fox was still together, what they were doing, what Marvel was doing, was they were devaluing their own properties. What they were doing was that's why the X-Men were all removed from the Marvel games, because they didn't want essentially more content to be adapted, more attention to be drawn to them. And then what happened is that they attempted to push another group, the Inhumans, as the replacement of the mutants.
Yeah, that worked out well,
and it didn't work out at all. So that's why the only X-Men that's in X-Men related character that's in there is Wolverine, because you can't not put Wolverine in there.
Yeah.
So that everything else they wanted to devalue essentially. No, there's no X-Men. There's nothing happening in the books. there hadn't been anything happening in the books for years.
Wolverine was dead in the books for a long time.
Wolverine was dead in the books. So yeah, they really wanted, or Disney was really aggressively trying to push X-Men out of the way. And one of the in this situation also is because they obviously, when you make a Marvel game, you have to pay Marvel a license fee.
Yeah.
So that's we don't know how long the licensing is for this game, and from the Insomniac leak said, Marvel takes quite a big chunk out of licensing for their characters. So it definitely would be good to make sure you
buy it physical, people. Buy it physical.
Try to get it somewhere, or at least someplace that says, even if it's being delisted, it's still available to you. Because I don't trust as Sony. I don't trust it either.
Yeah, I don't trust it at all. They've taken these games away from us before.
Yeah. How long did that last version of Marvel vs. Capcom last? The one on the PlayStation 3.
Not very long.
Before it got delisted.
Not very long. So buy it physical, people.
The plus about this one is that we're now getting X-Men, and we're getting
finally
a bunch of them together. Yeah.
I've been asking for this forever, man. All right, another one here from Foolish People. Are there any other games that have been relegated to obscurity or locked behind older hardware that you would like to see re-released like Capcom did with the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection? So what other games do you want to come back?
Metal Gear 4.
Metal Gear Solid 4. That's all right. We all said the same thing, basically.
Metal Gear Solid 4 or any of the PlayStation 4 games that are locked to that console, which most of them, a lot of them are not. A lot of them, the multi-platform games are sort of, all on, on other consoles, but, we're not PC. But yeah, this MGS4 is the one.
Yeah. And in the spirit of collections, give me an Infamous collection with the first 2 games. They're just locked to PS3 right now. You can't play them anywhere else.
Yeah.
So that'd be great, All right. Anybody else? Any games that are like inaccessible that you'd like to see come back in a collection?
I mean, I'd like to see them do a fresh version of Eco, because Eco's locked on 3 and 2 right now.
Who we have a question about Eco as well, but actually, believe it or not. All right. Anybody else?
I would say Infamous 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's
I'm
what
surprised that the superhero boom didn't trigger Sony to say, "Hey, we have a superhero-esque game that's not Spider-Man. Let's bring it out." But they didn't, which is surprising. But oh well, fair enough.
Yeah. All right, move on here. Oh, another sponsored question. This one is E-Man, very generous fella, sponsoring another one of Foolish People's questions. This one is about Eco, actually. Michael Huber stated on the Easy Allies podcast that a friend of his submitted a pitch to Sony for an Eco movie/show. How well do you think a game like Eco or Shadow of the Colossus would translate to a live adaptation? For no reason at all, Manny, you could go first.
To be honest, I wouldn't want to put it as a live action.
Agreed.
Because all of the mystique is gone. I could see it as if it were going to be adapted, it shouldn't be adapted as like a full on experience. Each episode, in other words, put them as shorts, different moments, and that way people can deal with them being silent. It's, if you're sitting people around for like 30 minutes, granted, Samurai Jack did it, where it was whole episodes that are things, but they weren't like full hour-long episodes. And I feel like if you do it in a shorter spent, since do it animated, I think that might work. But live action, why does it need to be live action?
Yeah.
What in Eco says that needs to be live action?
Yeah, apparently this guy wants to give it a shot. My thing is dialogue, character development. It would kind of ruin the experience,
The thing about it, that's the whole point of Eco. That it's you're in a world that you don't speak the language in. So what is it gonna what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
You know, is it going to be, you know, other than Eco himself, you only understand his subtitled stuff, and it's only one sided. You don't know what what the girl is saying. You don't know any. It's all visual, mostly visual storytelling. So to be honest, I would say if you're going to do it in shorts. But you know, if you're going to set people down for like 30 minutes and stuff like that, or try to make a dumb movie about it, it's already going to get too big. And who's this person that said they want to do an adaptation?
For somebody from Sony.
Oh, okay.
Which I guess
to be honest, you know, judging by, you know, Sony's previous forays into adapting things into movie, Uncharted film, I feel like that is disrespectful to the actual games. To be honest,
yeah. And unfortunately, we're getting a second one of those.
And you're getting a second garbage sequel to that. I don't know, like, and obviously I can't say anything about that because it made money. It must be good, huh?
Ooh.
You know how the people use that garbage.
Yeah, well, you know, the Michael Bay Transformers did very well too, and those movies were fucking trash.
Yeah. So anyway, you know.
Yeah. All right. Moving on here. Kiss Shack in the house, man.
Oh, well, slight addition to that. If you saw that short of a Gravity Rush, Gravity Rush live action that they showed in that sizzle reel of garbage, that doesn't give me any faith in any of the stuff they're going to do.
Oh no, I didn't know they were doing a live action of that.
No, they had it in some development thing, and they showed some person jumping off of a thing and flipping around and stuff, like literally by the numbers adaptation. It was stupid looking.
Yeah, it'll be dumb.
So I don't trust them.
Yeah. Okay, next question is from Kishak, also about a podcast, something that happened on a podcast. During a podcast with Variety, Matt Booty implied that Tango Gameworks' closure was partly due to leadership change. Is he directly throwing Mikami under the bus? How might this affect Xbox down the road?
I think he might be throwing Mikami under the bus.
That's what it sounds like.
It sounds like he's throwing, but I mean, to be honest, like Mikami even said that he was in a position of control, but it wasn't him that was running the day to day. It was the other guy that was running the day to day over there. So if it's leadership changes over there, maybe they're butthurt that the actual the most famous person at the studio decided to walk.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just seems that way to me. If it is that,
yeah.
I mean, I understand. It's like, okay, yeah, we got the guy that created Resident Evil under the studio under our umbrella. But I'm thinking like. I think that if it's that situation, I'm like, maybe that's kind of petty. It's like you're not even giving the guy who was literally running the company the chance to do that. I don't know who else left Tango Gameworks beside him.
Yeah, and then the other part of the question was like, what is this a bad look for Xbox? Yeah, because maybe people will be like, it's a horrible look, because some developers might be like, I don't know if I can trust these guys. I don't. I mean, to be honest, like if you think about it, like, I would always like to say, I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt, but like again, they haven't proven themselves yet. Microsoft has not proven themselves yet, and we're still waiting for that thing. And to be honest, like hearing about them closing studios that make critically acclaimed games that did better than they expected, games that we want to see other smaller games that we want to see other studios making. That doesn't give me a lot of faith in them. Yeah,
and I and I know that the bells, all the hoopla of the whatever the Microsoft thing, a lot of people are all happy and go up, happy about what they saw. But to be honest, that didn't give me a lot of faith in them that they're showing. I know we saw a lot of really cool things, but I just feel like we're in the same situation with them as it was when they made the announcement of the Xbox One X and the S. A bunch of stuff that's coming way down the line that we're probably not going to see anytime soon.
Yeah. Couple comments here, obviously. Anytime we talk about Xbox, the chat lights up. Jay Shep goes, what I would ask Matt Booty is, does that mean that you'll drop a studio whenever their head leaves? And how is 343 still standing? We've been asking that.
We've been asking that for quite a while now. They've been sitting there, doing who knows what, not supporting the supposed infinite game that they created. What are they working on? What are they doing? Are they doing something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Why are they getting the pass when they literally haven't produced anything?
Yeah. What's going on?
And their last game, did Halo Infinite flop like bad? Like it did, right?
I don't have the exact numbers, but it wasn't well received. We all know that.
Well received. Okay,
yeah, we all know that it was not well received, and who knows if it's sold well now because it's on fucking Game Pass. So who knows?
Did that game do as they expected? As they projected? It just sounds like a bunch of hooey to me. But to be honest, it seems like Microsoft is just not interested in Japanese studios. So
yeah.
To be honest, it's better that Tango Gameworks is not even there anymore. Maybe they can all those people can go off and do something, something big, create a studio and do some cool stuff because obviously Microsoft doesn't see the potential.
Yeah. Echo Crimson says Tango Studios did need to shut down. I feel they shut them down because of the budget issues. Probably.
Budget issues of what?
Microsoft, they every company's had like money problems. So
yeah, they had money problems, but they could have literally closed down 343 studio and literally and literally cut themselves a lot of money.
Or an executive didn't have to take a bonus.
Yeah, and an executive still got a bonus and all of this other stuff. There's so many other things that are in this way that they could cut that are literally would save them a lot more money than a small Japanese studio with how many people?
Yeah.
Maybe 100 people, right?
Kishak mentioned in the chat, he said 343 must have blackmail on Phil Spencer to be alive.
I don't know.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
maybe they don't want it. Maybe because they rented that space at the Microsoft campus, they can't give it up for another certain amount of years, so they have to fill it with something. I don't know.
Yeah. It's
with their empty Halo museum.
It's one of those things where, like Tony mentioned, it's a budget thing, and Manny, like what you're thinking, I feel like what a lot of people are thinking, it's fucking Microsoft. They have money off the wazoo, but these companies, and Phil Spencer included, Microsoft Office and Windows, they're all subservience to fucking Nadella, and that dude. If the figures don't come out the way that he wants, because it's not going to look good at the stockholders, the shareholders, they're gonna do whatever the hell they can to trim whatever they consider fat. And unfortunately, that was Tango Gameworks. It's a studio that they got from the Bethesda deal. It's not Bethesda. It's not some other of the Bethesda studios that are decently sized, the Doom people. Like none of those. So like, Tango Gameworks, they made this little game called Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush was highly publicized and highly and critically acclaimed by the community, but at the end of the day, it didn't mean anything because it did not provide what could have been seen by someone like Nadella. Nadella has access to the Game Pass numbers if he asked for them, but he doesn't care. So it's just one of those things where Phil Spencer is like, so should we close down 343 or should we close down Tango, Arcane, and whatever other studio that they got shut down? And that's an easy question for him because 343 is a product of him. He's the one that spearheaded 343 Studios. He's the reason why it exists. So he's gonna swallow a tough 343 pill as long as he's still there.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Not to mention that they're tied to the what used to be their biggest IP.
Yeah. All right, man. Moving on here. What do we have? Sponsor question, Mr. Eurocar. Sponsoring a Kiss Shack question. Recently, the leaker Midori, known for leaking Square Enix and Sega information, was discovered to be a man pretending to be a Japanese woman. Another leaker, Piorio, known for leaking Nintendo information, had their source exposed, which led to said source going private. Is it a good thing that leakers are slowly being dismantled like this? For no reason whatsoever, Carlos, you could answer this first.
I'm curious, because I'm not too familiar with the situation. I'm curious what they were leaking. I mean, if they were leaking like private information and stuff like that and source code, then they should be handled by the court of law. But if it's just someone that says, Dark Souls 4 is going to come out in 2026, that was the whole leak, and it's like, I mean, that doesn't really constitute me there people being super outraged to discipline the person leaking that.
Yeah,
I guess it just levels to it.
Somebody in the chat could correct me on this, but this Nintendo leaker, wasn't his source somebody that works for YouTube and was just seeing the videos that Nintendo had on private and then just leaking that information? I believe that was what was going on. And then that person, yeah, exactly. I think that was the situation. Correct me if I'm wrong. As for the other one, I don't know too much about it, but I heard about it. That sounds hilarious. Dude was pretending to be a fucking Japanese woman. That shit reminds me of CB Sapolsky, the current editor-in-chief of Marvel. You know, he was Akira Yoshida back in the day, some fat white guy, you know? Oh, man. And somebody in the comments responded with that, too. It's like, it reminds me. They just put a picture of CB Sapolsky. You know, I'm like, yeah, man, there you go.
I mean, it's a obviously people have pseudonyms, but there are certain pseudonyms that you don't take.
Yeah, but he billed himself as a Japanese writer.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Rich.
I just would like to say a public service announcement. All leakers need to be exposed.
Yes,
but especially the ones that catfish.
Yeah,
because I remember the phenomenon of Catfish, the show that was on MTV. I especially don't like those people. So, yes, expose them all.
Yeah. Oh, whoa, hold on. Okay, thank you because again, I'm not too familiar with the situation. Thank you, Kishak. The situation is even worse. Piorio Source apparently worked at Nintendo as a web developer. Oh, they're fucked.
Oh,
they are
fucked. Nintendo is coming for everything. They're coming for their grandkids.
They're going to be indentured servants.
I haven't been there in a while, but it wasn't me.
Yeah, it wasn't you, Chris. Don't fuck it up. Yeah, because that's what you did for them, right? You did web development.
Yeah.
So I gotta answer Rich's statement because it was a pretty controversial one. All leakers need to be dealt with. Does that include the quote unquote insiders who quote unquote leak information? Like, Gears of War is going to be announced during the summer.
Well, those aren't even leakers. These insiders are just, you're divining stuff out of thin air.
Exactly.
But they are.
These are.
If it is credible information, it is getting leaked.
I don't know if it's credible versus wish casting. If you're just playing on people's expectations versus you're getting legit information from inside that isn't supposed to get out, it's under NDA or whatever, the information is still legit, right? But with the other thing that you mentioned, that's just wish casting, and somebody's preying upon people like, hey, that thing you really want? Yeah, that's happening. Without any sort of even a shred of confirmation on it.
Yeah, and then sometimes they get lucky that they're considered credible.
Yeah,
or the influencers.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I kind of agree with what you guys have said. It's like and it's funny. I have noticed this year specifically, a lot more leakers are being called out on their bullshit. I'm glad that's happening. Because again, they're not really leakers. A lot of the times, these guys are just breaking. Either they're making up shit and hoping something sticks, or they're literally breaking an NDA. So yeah, and it's crazy because some of these guys have been proven time and time again to be wrong, yet people still go to them. Like lately, the last one, this Nick, whatever the fuck his name is, he's out there saying, Sony's going to be working on getting native versions of the Uncharted games, the PS3 games running on PS5. He's like, I'm doing, I'm leaking this shit. And Paris and I, we had to get on Twitter, like, that's something Hip Hop Gamer talked about. So I think you should be giving him credit if this is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So But again, Rich, you were gonna say something?
Oh no, I was agreeing. Yes,
yeah,
I saw that, and hip hop definitely spoke about that before.
Yeah, if that happens, we have. I know we've had our fun with the remastering engine, but if that shit happens, we got to give credit where credit's due, man. And not to this fucking Nick guy. This guy who has a horrible track record, yet people keep going to him because he got lucky a couple of times. Got lucky. He wasn't right. He was lucky.
So with this, if this comes to fruition, is this a leak? Is this wishful thinking? Is this what is it?
I honestly believe somebody at Sony told hip hop this, but whether he interpreted a certain way, I don't know. But because Hip Hop Gamer's not a liar, so we'll see. And if that happens, we're getting him on the show. Remember, we had him on Throwdown and explained this whole situation to us for an hour. Like he was on Throwdown longer than he was on his own show explaining this. We went through everything, and we made that a separate episode too. It's still there, like Throwdown clips or whatever. Go check that episode out. Hip Hop Gamer explaining the remastering engine and how he learned about it. Go check that shit out.
I think like I always felt like it could have had a sliver of truth.
Yeah,
but I feel like he put his spin on it.
Yeah.
Like I remember during that episode, I explicitly asked him, so you're confirming that if I get my PS3 disc and put it on my PS whatever, I don't know what it was, PS4, PS5, if I put that on the PlayStation, it'll just play from that. And he said yes.
Oh shit. It's a bold claim, man.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, these insiders need to go. We're not fans of these guys. All right, another one, another sponsored question. This one is from another lovely fella here called Lunar Diaries. He is sponsoring a J-Shep question. So, question for Chris, along with the rest of the panel. Does Lego Horizon releasing on Nintendo Switch show that Nintendo and Sony are one step closer to mending their relationship? Chris, since this question's towards you, you could answer it.
No, and I'll explain why. So the important part in that game title is Lego. So imagine if you and somebody hate each other, but you have a mutual friend. And you now talk to each other through that friend. It's like, tell that a-hole over there this, whatever. Okay. And they do it, So what you have is Lego getting a license from Sony to produce this game. And they're like, but we're going to put it on all these platforms. Sony's like, whatever. Right? They don't care. It's like it's a Lego game, right? You're giving us money for the Horizon license. Nintendo doesn't care because it's just another game in their library. It's another Lego game. They like the Lego game, so they don't give a shit that it's Sony produced it or it's a Sony IP. They really don't care. But the thing is, if you're thinking that this will mean that somehow Nintendo and Sony will collaborate on future things without an intermediary, that's very wishful thinking. that I doubt that will ever happen.
Yeah, that's not happening. Go ahead.
That's definitely not happening. And if you think that you will ever see God of War on a Switch, come on, son. I don't think so. That's not even the target audience for the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, no, you're right. Oh, by the way, Kishak said this. This is a very good comment here, and Rich, I want both of us to kind of chime in on this. He goes, I'm betting between Sony America and Nintendo America are friendly, but not the Japanese counterparts. Yeah, I can pretty much confirm that. You know, like in America, yes, obviously there's no beef. We've seen these guys talking to each other, you know, at various trade shows, Nintendo and Sony guys. But in Japan, it's a different story. It's a different story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's even people I remember working with who came from Sony, right? They didn't care. Like they would even I remember one E3, they were ordering televisions for the booth. And somebody, I guess a former Sony guy, he was ordering Sony TVs, right? They were ordering Bravias for the display. Yo, that shit went to Japan. They like canceled that fucking shit. And they ordered Panasonics. They didn't want Sony TVs in the booth, right? So that's how like heated it gets. There's no animosity on this side. Everybody just works together, you know? It's just fucking the game industry. But there's bad blood, right? And the Japanese, like, they will not work together, and everything eventually has to go back to the top, like especially with Nintendo, right? Nintendo Japan controls everything. There's not a messaging or IP, any licensing, anything that doesn't go through them.
Yeah. Richard, here's a question for you from Jay Shep. He goes, maybe RBJ can attest to this, but I've heard that the PS logo pops up when you start the game on Switch. So I don't know if you have any information on that.
This is what, for that Lego Horizon game?
Yeah, like apparently when you load the game up on Switch, you see the Sony logo, the PlayStation logo.
That's a good question. I didn't get a chance to see the game. My assumption is that it does, the same way that if you fire up MLB The Show on Xbox, you'll see the PlayStation logo on that game.
Yeah. So
that's my guess.
Yeah. But yeah, Chris pretty much laid it down. It's like they're not directly talking to each other. There's an intermediary in there. What's the name of the fucking Telltale, right? Whatever. No, Traveler's Tales or whatever. Fuck. Yeah. So that's the in between. They're not directly talking to each other. That bad blood is still very much there on the Japanese side. You know. All right, moving on. Illustrated Dio. Street Fighter 6 has disappointed me. The characters I expected apparently aren't set for release this year. Capcom says this is a business strategy to enrich the fighting game community and to grasp more audience consumers for the game. Meanwhile, fighting game fans have to deal with a terrible roster for Street Fighter 6 between 2024 and 2025. The roster being Terry, Bison, Mia, and Obai and Elena. What would you do in my situation when your favorite game decides to enforce unsatisfactory content? Put the game down, sell it, or play another game, or support the content and just shut the fuck up. My move, I plan to play another fighting game like City of Wolves. Yeah, that's it. If you're not happy, play something else, bro. You know, you're not forced to keep supporting a game if they're not doing what you want. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So if SNK City of Wolves, I think that's a sequel to Garu, Mark of the Wolf. Yeah, play that instead, man. Play that instead. You know, simple as that. All right, another one from Mr. Dio here. What upcoming new IP from a major game publisher or developer are you most looking forward to? Examples are Kojima's Xbox exclusive, Naughty Dog's next PlayStation title, or maybe another Mario game. What are some new IPs that are dropping? Avowed, I guess, you know, that people are looking forward to that. That counts. It's a new IP, you know. But I don't know. It's funny because I'm asking for. I'm pretty sure there's an answer. I'm just blanking on it. Yeah, I don't know.
Is that RPG from the is it Fantasium, the one from the creator of Final Fantasy?
Yeah, but do you consider that an exclusive because that shit's already available on mobile right now? You know?
Oh, I guess not. Yeah. All right. If it's mobile, if it's a mobile port. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know that. You know. But yeah, I can't. I'm pretty sure there's an answer. I just can't think of any. But yeah, it's like, what new IP from one of the big three, or just an exclusive, are you looking forward to? Yeah, I don't know. Can't think of anything. Which kind of, because even with Wolverine, I got my questions about now. Because there's certain companies involved, so I don't know about that game. All right, anybody else got any answers here? Rich, anything?
I have an answer, although this is probably not going to be the correct answer because it's not considered a major studio, I guess. Well, it is a major studio, but there's still an indie studio. Whatever Slow Clap is working on next, I can't wait to see that because Sifu was awesome.
There you go.
So,
all right, good stuff. All right, and the last two questions of the night. Both of these are Dio questions sponsored by a certain individual called Mr. Sir Rich a lot. I'm pretty sure he's a great guy. So some sponsor questions here. First up, will you get Call of Duty 6 at full price or played on Game Pass? I'm on the fence. It's Call of Duty. I'm not playing that shit. What about you, Rich, for no apparent reason?
Well, he's getting the review copy.
Yeah, you are, yeah.
No, well, I'm not going to be reviewing the game. I'm pretty sure our very good friend, Mr. Adam Vale, will want to review the game, but
Call of Duty says the one. It's the one.
This is it.
But I will tell you right now, as a definitive answer, because we give definitive answers here on Throwdown. No, I'm not going to pay full price for the game. Why the hell would I? This is what Game Pass is for. With certain games, yes. No, not paying full price. Absolutely not.
Yeah, and I think I can speak for the rest of the panel. No one cares about Call of Duty here. Let's just be real.
I slightly care about it, but I'm with Rich.
I'll just say this: even on Game Pass, I wouldn't play this. It's Call of Duty. What? I don't care.
Oh, dude, it's DLC.
Yeah. All right, man. And the last question of the night. So this a sponsor question that Rich a lot is sponsoring from Alpha Chuck. What are your thoughts on the controversy, quote unquote, with Jez Corden implying that the Xbox version of Black Myth Wukong is delayed due to a backdoor deal for time exclusivity with Sony? And then he adds, how big of a tool do you have to be to make these kind of statements as a journalist with zero supporting evidence?
So let me answer this real fast.
For no coincidence, you go first.
Yeah, we made a comment earlier saying these insiders, the leakers, it would be good if they get a lot of stuff wrong and people expose them. We don't know what's going on with this game because obviously Microsoft released a statement before saying they have to optimize the game. Then I saw last week that statement was updated to say, oh, well, we cannot discuss any deals that other companies have with publishers. So we already know with Baldur's Gate on Xbox Series SX, there was an issue with the optimization. This is why that came out at a later time. They need to stick to that storyline. I don't want them going around making these changes to try to say, oh, there's a deal. It doesn't matter. The game is going to come out later for Xbox, I guess. Then the people who want it on Xbox can get it. But obviously, if you are excited for the game, it will be available on PC and PS5 day one. So play it on those platforms.
Yeah, pretty much. As to the heart of the question, I guess. And again, I'm trying to be careful with my words here because I am friendly with Jez. I don't have a problem with him. Him and I are cool, and we both work for the same parent company. So obviously, it would be very unprofessional of me to start saying shit I shouldn't. And again, I don't want to say anything bad because I genuinely like the guy, but it would be good if he watched what he said a little more. And I say this because he said this. He put out a tweet a while ago where he's like, oh, since people see me as an insider or whatever, anything I say can be misconstrued as a scoop. So I need to be careful. Then the next day he breaks that and just says this thing that was his opinion, clearly his opinion, but people are gonna go like, oh shit, he has some insider knowledge, you know. So that's I need to just tell him this like face to face, but I can't talk about it since it's all public. It's like you need to watch what you say, man, because people. You are considered. I know you put out that tweet saying that you're not a journalist. Yes, you are. You've been doing this for over 12 years. You are absolutely a trained journalist. You're not a blogger, and people see you in that way. You need to comport yourself that way. And specifically, if you're putting yourself out there as a insider, you really got to watch your words. See, I could kind of say what I want because I'm not an insider. I'm just a guy. People know what I say is just my opinion, right? Even though there's some people, oh, well, you say this as a journalist? No, I'm not, you know? But with him, he's considered an insider. He calls himself an insider. So you got to watch what you say. That's the advice I would give him, or I should give him. But I wouldn't call him a tool. I think that's a little harsh, you know. But again, he is a co-worker of mine, so I got to, you know, I want to give him respect in that end, you know. But in general, now, and I'm going to speak more broadly. Yeah, we do. I'm going to call it an epidemic of insiders literally just throwing shit out there and seeing what sticks, you know. And it amazes me how these guys are wrong most of the time, yet people keep going back to them. I'm sorry, Jeff Grubb. I'm saying it. This dude is wrong most of the time, right? But people keep going to him, you know? I know my man was really happy Sony had that state of play. He was sweating 2 days before the month ended. Remember he said, there's going to be a state of play at the end of May. It was like May 28th. Like, yo, where's it at? My man was sweating, boy. I knew he was, you know? And then we have, who's the other guy? Henderson. It's another guy, you know? It's like, he's worse because he legit breaks NDAs, you know? So I consider I even worse. Like Jeff Grubb, I think it's silly to just make up these claims and stuff, but he's not breaking NDAs. He's not doing anything harmful. Most of the time, it's more like you're a fool for just believing this stuff. You know, the readers or whatever. You're a fool if you're believing this stuff. But Henderson, he breaks NDAs, but the way he does it is he doesn't do it directly. Like he'll get an email, he doesn't do that. Somebody else tells him, and then he puts that out there, which is almost the same thing, you know, effectively. It's messed up, man. And I am speaking personally about this because I try my damnedest not to break NDAs. I'm going to tell you how extreme I get with this shit, right? When Metal Gear Solid 5 was coming out, there was a local like video game store that was selling the game before even reviewers got a copy. I bought the game. I technically could have started writing about the game without any fear or anything because I wasn't under NDA. I still honor the NDA because I'm not trying to fuck over any of these companies. You know, you got to respect. You know.
Yeah.
And this is also why I'm keeping it real. There's also why companies, when they hear I'm involved, they will work with me because they know I'm going to do things right. I'm not going to do some nonsense. You know. Yeah. Go ahead.
Same with Rich.
Yeah,
right?
same with Rich. Yeah,
play the game the way it's supposed to be played, right? Like, not going to go and scoop and just to get the additional attention, right? You're gonna do like if they have an embargo, you stick to that embargo. But there are so many people, especially certain influencing people, that tend to break embargo and they still get the same thing.
Yeah. Tony, that's because you still have self-respect. These other guys don't. It's not only self-respect, it's just respect in general. You're working with these companies. You got to be respectful, you know, but at the same time, you also don't want to be a shill either, you know, because I see a lot of that as well. You know, here's the thing. I have never given a game a better score or a product a better score because I may have been flown out somewhere, you know, perfect example, right? Konami flew me out when they were debuting Contra Hardcore, right? I appreciate what Konami did. It was a lovely kind of weekend, sort of. I still gave the game a bad score. Because it was a bad game, you know? Like,
and Andy knows the guy that did artwork
Manny did the artwork for that. Manny did the artwork for that. I didn't go, oh, my best friend did the art, I need to be nice to it. No, because that compromises my integrity. At the end of the day, I'm writing for readers, and if I am compromising my standards, then I'm not worth my weight or in salt or whatever. It's insane. And there's way too many people out there that do compromise or they change things. Not in the house of Matumbo. Here's the thing. I may word it that it's not as sharp, but it's still the same thing. You know?
Mm-hmm. I would say,
go ahead.
I would say on that same topic, it's like, as being, somebody who did work on a game that wasn't that wasn't received well. I don't want people to give me the pass if they know. And there was a famous journalist at the time that said to me, "Hey, I'm sorry I couldn't have given it a better score." I'm like, "No, I don't want you to give it a better score. If you thought it was a bad game, then you thought it was a bad game, plain and simple."
Yeah, and some insider stuff, but I'm going to rub off the names here, obviously, because I'm a tech journalist now. You know how many times I've reviewed a product badly? You know what happens? The PR people come back to me and they ask me, "Oh, what can we do to improve this?" Because I didn't shit on it. I didn't just crap on it. I listed what was wrong with it and what they could have done. There's one specific product that I was very, very hyped for, and the PR people knew this, and I had to give it a bad score. It was just not good. And they got back to me, and we had a little bit of a one-on-one just discussing what they could do to fix it, And you only get that if you're not only being respectful, but also just being constructive, and you don't really,
there's a big difference between being constructive and just plain bashing things. And some people, granted, bashing things gets all the hornets' nests all riled up, but it doesn't do anything to further the industry itself.
Yeah. So I try to be honest and fair in all my dealings, and that's why I'm, not to toot my own horn. That's why I'm doing good in the industry, and that's why Rich is doing good in the industry too, because he comports himself the same way. Like I said during that one E3 when I went to the coalition, I mentioned Rich's name. That shit opened doors because Rich is a professional, and everybody in this industry understands that. But some of these other cats, here's the thing: some of these guys do get opportunities because they're big, and I think that's kind of unfair because they're literally breaking NDAs and all this other stuff. By the way, I was specifically talking about guys like Henderson. Jess Corder does not break NDAs. He doesn't do any of that shit. I just think he speculates a little too much sometimes, off of what he may or may not have heard. He doesn't do any shady stuff like that, So
I'm surprised he doesn't profess it. In my opinion, in other words,
he should. It's simple.
In other words, putting those lines there. But I don't know the man personally, but I'm hoping that he's not just addicted to the attention.
I mean, know what I mean? That's a problem with a lot of these guys. You could tell they're addicted to it and they need it. You could tell.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, not to go off topic, we're almost done. This is the last question anyway. Because people accuse me of that, like, "Oh, Tony, you used to get attention." One of the best things that's ever happened to me is getting that fucking blue check mark removed. I could pay. I don't get as much reactions on my Twitter anymore. Great. I don't want that fucking attention. It was too much. All these crazy people coming after me, But that was a little aside. Kishai goes, "It's a small industry from what I've heard, and word gets out fast about bad actors." Yes, 100%. Gaming is big, but it's also small. Everybody knows each other. So if you comport yourself a certain, this is why, Rich, I'm not going to name any names. We've known many characters who haven't gotten anywhere in this industry despite being here as long or as longer than us. Some that we've worked with personally. Yeah. So, Rich, what's your take on these? What we just discussed, insiders and breaking NDAs and all this other stuff.
Yeah, I definitely get frustrated when I see this stuff continuing to happen because, like you guys already said, it could be somebody who clearly breaks embargoes, but yet they're still getting the same opportunities even afterwards. And, I kind of think a lot of companies should take a look at that obviously they're looking at the fact of who the person is, the numbers, the attention they get. But if they break embargo and break NDA, there needs to be some consequences for that. You can't just have them continuing to do this over and over again and still being rewarded with the same opportunities. So I would hope they would take a look into that. But I'm just glad we never did that. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then one last little story, and then we'll wrap it up here. I remember, and this was during the pandemic too. They released Persona 4 Golden for PC 2 hours before the embargo lifted. 2 hours. Somebody leaked everything, right? And I'm talking to the homie Gary Swaby, right? Because I had reviewed it for PC Mag. He reviewed it for the Coalition. And we're both are like, yo, these guys just skipped the line, you know? But me and Gary, we waited those 2 hours, boy. We waited. Even though some other publications, they started publishing their reviews because they were like, fuck it, go do it. I'm like, nope. I'm honoring this shit. You know? That's how you got to do it, man. It's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, man. Let us start wrapping up here. Rich, what's going on with the Coalition?
Oh, yes. I have spent all weekend working on a lot of different previews from Summer Games Fest. So I would say stay tuned because you're going to see a lot of that stuff getting posted up this week. A couple of other things we're working on that we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, a lot of games to look forward to, a lot of coverage. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Manny, do you have anything to plug?
Yes. So, yes, if you guys know, I was just at the Waffle Games 7.0. That was a really nice thing to talk to young developers in the game industry about working as an independent game developer. Yes, so what's coming up? So, coming next month is the 40th anniversary of Ninja Turtles. So, there will be on the 10th of July, there will be a special comic which I have stories from all the people who worked on the Ninja Turtles franchises, starting with Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman, and obviously, and myself, Kai Randolph, and Lloyd Goldfine, who worked on the Ninja Turtles 2003 series. So we have a 8-page story. I also drew a cover. Kari drew a cover. I colored it. So that's coming real soon. We also did a nice little conversation on the Turtle Tracks podcast. I have actually appeared on that before to talk on my own. This one was just to talk about the project that we're doing for the 40th, and a whole bunch of random stuff. That just turtle-y stuff. So that should be up soon. I don't know the full details of when it's going to appear, but it's coming. And also there's also Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. Which I also did a cover with Kari Randolph. So that's coming up in the future, which has sold really well, apparently. Anyway, yeah, that's what I got going on now.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. All right, man. That's going to do it for us. So make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord where the conversations and the rumors are always popping. Also, make sure you follow us on YouTube. Hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of when we go live every Thursday and Sunday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. We are also on every podcast app on the planet. Throwdown Show. That's 2 words, Throwdown Show. And make sure you visit throwdownshow.com to listen to past episodes. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Aside from his bias to a game like Redfall, I can also attest to Richard Bailey Jr.'s professionalism.
Brett Murdoch.
It's for real, people.
Yeah, happy to have you back, brother.
Happy to be back.
All right. Richard Bailey Jr.
Trophies and achievements aren't going anywhere.
Yes.
Rick, this is how you 100% at Redfall. Like you can't hide it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh man, and of course, Mr. Brian Manjoma.
Let's see what games are delayed.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
We'll see.
Is all of them an option?
All of them. You know, they'll all be delayed. All right, well, delayed till next generation. All right, people. We'll see you on Thursday. Later.
Later.
Yes.